Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Want to learn how to perfect your walk in retirement? Well, stay tuned as I share with you our novel concept called the Split IRA concept.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and four-time author, Tony Walker.
Some 20 years ago, I began working on my first book called Perfecting Your Walk in Retirement. Due to the confusion of this book's title invoked, I quickly changed the title to what we now call the Worry-Free Retirement. Yet to this day, I must admit, I love the concept of perfecting your walk, because while the Bible certainly talks a lot about our state of affairs, warts and all, the perfecting your walk process does apply to retirement. And today what I'm going to do is take the entire show to share with you how you can perfect your walk in retirement by using something we have at Tony Walker Financial, a proprietary process called the Split IRA concept. But before we get into the meat of today's show, as usual, helping me produce this show in the Louisville, Kentucky studios at Worry-Free Productions is none other than America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. And you laughed about this book because you said, Tony, you haven't talked about this book in years. But let me remind you, young man, if it had not been for this book, I got to tell this story. If it had not been for this book, you and I would never met. You want me to tell you the story behind it?
Really? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I haven't heard this.
Okay. So long story short, I wrote this book. I started working on it around 2000, 2001 when the stock market was all over the place. And I'm thinking, all right, I had everybody in the stock market. I'm thinking, how do we really help people retire worry-free? I had come up with the concept of worry-free. And I said, well, this is about a process. Life is a process. Life is a walk. It's not a marathon. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff I'd coined in my mind back then. So I wrote this book and I was so excited. Here's a picture of it. You've seen the cover. It's got Susan on the cover and we had a professional photographer take pictures. I was so excited. So then I thought, well, I'll take it, go down and try to pitch it to some people down at the Religious Broadcasters meeting. Nobody was interested. I was all discouraged. I was getting ready to get on the plane, heading back on the shuttle to the plane at the airport. And this lady who was attending the conference, there was probably 2,000 people there. I didn't know her from Adam. She said, hey, you been to the conference? You enjoy it? I said, yeah, but kind of been pitching this book and nobody's interested. And she goes, let me see that thing. And she looked at it and she said, well, I'll take a look at it. And I said, well, who are you? And she said, well, my name's Helen Cook. I'm a publicist. I said, what's a publicist? I didn't know what a publicist was. He said, well, let me take your book. I'll read it. I'll call you if I think I can help you market it. I said, great. So sure enough, she calls back about 5 days later and says, let me try to get you on some TV stations. I said, this is awesome. So it had kind of a Christian flair to it. So I drove up to South Bend, Indiana. There was a large Christian station there. They interviewed me. I thought it went great. I flew to Pittsburgh, huge Christian television station there. I was interviewed, thought it went great. Guess how many books I sold?
I'll say 3. I'll be optimistic. I'll say you sold 3.
6.
Oh, I was close.
Yeah, I made $6.
All right,
folks,
$6.
Now, I don't want to discourage you from writing a book, folks. If you want to write a book, I've written 5 of them now. But the bottom line was, and I got to tell you this part. This is what's funny. I'm getting to the part of how I met you. Hang in there, Aaron. But then what was funny is I hooked up with a company that said, well, we'll help you do a webinar. That's what you need is a national webinar. And I said, all right, this will work. So it was pretty cool. We talked about perfecting your walk in retirement and all that. And I said, okay, they could send in their live questions. The first question I got, this was hilarious. He said, hi, I'm so-and-so. Bless his heart, he's probably dead now. I'm 80 years of age. I love what you're talking about. I think walking is good for you. I try to walk every day. I thought, nobody's getting this. So I changed the name to the Worry-Free Retirement. Well, in the meantime, Helen Cook is calling all these stations. I'm not selling books. I said, Helen, have you tried any TV stations in Louisville or Bowling Green? Because I used to have a TV show on there called Your Money Matters. And she said, no, I'll try. Well, guess who she contacted? Where did you used to work?
Wave 3 Television.
Wave 3 Television. So the producer there got in touch with Helen. Helen convinced them to have me on. And kind of the rest is history, because that thing took off. And remember, I was on there for 7 years, every Monday. Some of you who listened to Wave 3 Listens Live back then. But it was because of that book. See, this is the way I look how God works, Aaron. Is because of that book and meeting Helen Cook that got me on Wave, and it got me to meet you. And since that time, we've produced, 400 plus shows. See how things work?
Like I said, I think I've said this before. Thank you, Helen Cook, for working so hard and getting him on here, because you really have been a blessing to me. So I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. So we got to fast forward here. I didn't mean to spend that much time on it, but I couldn't help going down memory lane, because
that was a fun trip down memory lane. I like that.
It's pretty cool. So the point is, over time, this concept of perfecting your walk has never stopped for me. My goal is to build an organization to help savers worry less about money. It's called the Worry Free Retirement. And that's what excites me, Aaron, is I just keep working on different ideas and strategies. And for whatever reason, God has gifted me with the ability to be very creative, but at the same time, He taught me years ago is that if you're going to help all these people, Tony, you've got to have more and more staff. And you've got to have a process so that the staff can fulfill the needs of your clients and your growing clientele. So this concept I've created is called the split IRA concept. And what I'm going to do, we'll take a quick break. Let me get situated here. What I'm going to do is go through the 3 components of the split IRA concept and why savers love this thing. So here's the thing. If you're retired or nearing retirement, here's who needs to really listen to this. If you have a former 401k with a previous employer, you need to listen to this coming up. If you just received an inheritance, you need to listen to this. This is good stuff. If you got a current IRA, 403b, maybe, like a gentleman yesterday, you've got a lump sum pension you got to do something with. Or if you've got a bunch of money languishing in the bank. Did I mention sale of a business? Did I mention that one? Okay, sale of a business. Had a gentleman that's thinking about selling his business. Any and all of those situations that might occur financially, the split IRA might just be the ticket to perfecting your walk in retirement. So stay tuned. I'll be right back. This is Tony Walker. You're listening to the Worry Free Retirement. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Welcome back to the Worry Free Retirement. Tony Walker here, and if you're just now joining us, we are getting ready to do a deep dive into something that, quite frankly, I think has really been a game changer for us at Tony Walker Financial, and why we are able to help so many savers worry so less about money. So it's called the split IRA concept. So there's 3 components to this concept. And let me set the stage. And Aaron, what I'll do, I'm just going to imagine, there's all kinds of things you can invest this in, but I'm just going to stay with the theme of a 401k rollover, okay? Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
Okay. So let's say you're, 60, I'll tell you what, let's do this. Let's say you're 60 years of age. And many of you don't know this. Many of you, as we record this show on February 16th, 2022, we are right in the middle of probably some of the most uncertain times I've seen in my 37 years in this business. I mean, interest rates look like they're creeping up. We have inflation. We have debt going out the yin-yang. We've got all kinds of issues and concerns with the stock market and everything else. So as we think about all of this tumultuous activity going on and all this uncertainty, we've got to bring some certainty. And that's why I created this split IRA concept. So the first part of this concept, or imagine you got a 401k, you're age 60. Many of you don't know you could do this. If you wanted to, you could take that 401k, even if you're still working in this example, and roll it over to Tony Walker Financial. And you say, oh yeah, that sounds good. I want to work with you, Tony. What are you going to do with this money? Well, the first thing it's going to do is it goes into our first leg, our first bucket, if you will, in the split IRA concept, and that's Charles Schwab. Now, many of you may have heard of Charles Schwab. Charles Schwab is what we call a brokerage company. They're the ones you can buy stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, real estate investment trusts, bank products, you name it, you can get it through Schwab. Now, Schwab and Tony Walker Financial are not affiliated. In other words, I don't work for Schwab, I work for you. We are fiduciaries, but we have to place your money through somebody, and that is called the custodian. So we, as independent fiduciaries, have chosen Charles Schwab to be the custodian of your money. So Aaron, if you decide to roll over, let's say you have $300,000 in a 401k, and you say, yeah, Tony, I want this split IRA concept. We're going to start at first to put it with Charles Schwab. You understand the money does not go to Tony Walker Financial. You understand? It's not made out to Tony Walker Financial.
Nobody's writing a check to you.
That's correct.
Okay.
It goes to Schwab. And that way, the 401k is completely tax-free. We set up an IRA. We roll it over to the IRA. You don't pay taxes on that money until you take out income. I want to make sure I'm being clear on that. Is that clear, Aaron?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, there's usually no cost to roll it over. So you say, that's great, Tony. But you said something about stocks, bonds, mutual funds. I don't know if I want a lot of risk. Well, here's the beauty of the split IRA. So once it goes into Schwab, oh, by the way, let me say this. So once it goes into Schwab, our next determination is how much of this money do you need accessible? This is a key, folks, especially if you're out there. There's a lot of annuity peddlers, and here's the danger of going to an annuity peddler and not a fiduciary. First of all, if somebody's going to recommend moving an IRA, 403b, 401k, lump sum pension, if that advisor is going to recommend an annuity, you've got to make sure they are a fiduciary. And you say, well, how do I know if they're a fiduciary? Well, they need to share with you what's called Form ADV Part 2. If they won't share that with you, they're probably not a fiduciary. I'd grab my 401k in my wallet and probably get the heck out of there and go get a fiduciary like us, okay? So they got to be a fiduciary. So basically that money, what a fiduciary is going to determine is how much of it do we need accessible. You don't want to put 100% of that money in annuities if you need it accessible. That would not even be, that'd be foolish is what it would be. We never do that. We never put 100% of somebody's money in annuities because that money does come with penalties. So that's why we like Schwab. So I'm using an example, Aaron. Let's say somebody says, yeah, Tony, I need some income. I want to take out $1,000 a month, thinking about buying a car in the next couple of years. We might leave $100,000 of the $300,000 with Schwab. Is that making sense?
Okay.
Because we want access to it without penalties. We don't want to get stung with a bunch of penalties. So you say, well, what are you going to do with that money? So that money that would stay with Schwab, the $100,000, we have 5 portfolios you could choose from. And we manage these internally within Tony Walker Financial. Schwab has nothing to do with those. We're just selecting the various investments through Schwab. Now, the reason we use Schwab is because their fees are so low. In fact, in many cases, we can purchase stocks and ETFs at very, very little cost and sometimes no cost to the client. How's that sound, Aaron?
Sounds
little
good.
Cost or no cost, you like that?
No cost is great.
So, and then you say, well, Tony, that's fine. You're doing all this work and picking all these portfolios. How do you all get paid? So in this case, on $100,000, our fee, annual fee, and this is every year, by the way, most money managers charge a fee every year to manage your money, and we do too, is 0.8%. So that would mean on the $100,000, our annual fee is $800 per year. We charge that quarterly in arrears, meaning we wait till the end of each quarter. So in that example, you're roughly going to charge against your account about $200, and we just deduct it out of the account, and that goes to Tony Walker Financial. That's it. There's not a lot of gotcha fees. We provide quarterly reports that easily spell these fees out. That's another thing, folks. If you're getting all these multi-page reports and the fees are not clear, let us take a second look at that, because the last thing you want is a bunch of high-paying fees going to somebody and you don't even know what those fees are. That's, again, probably not a fiduciary if they're hiding or burying those fees where you can't see them. So again, our fee is 0.8%. So now you say, yeah, Tony, okay, we've maybe determined you want a moderate portfolio with a little bit of risk or whatever. So then we set that up. Now we still have this $200,000 sitting in Schwab, Aaron, right? Because we only took $100,000 and invested it. So you say, well, what are you going to do with the other $200,000? Well, again, it would be different for different situations and different risk tolerances and income needs. But we're going to take a quick break. So when I come back, we're going to talk about the second bucket or the second leg of the split IRA. And then I'm going to show you on legs 2 and 3 how we're going to guarantee that principal, and if you so choose, provide a guaranteed income. You can never outlive something I call mailbox money for life. I'm Tony Walker. You stay tuned as we continue our discussion of the split IRA concept. Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. You know, we care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started.
Welcome back, folks. I am America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Ornder, and I just want to remind you, folks, if you're tuning in on this radio show now, you want to catch something that we talked about previously, or if you want to catch any of our past radio shows, it's real easy to do. All you got to do is go to SoundCloud.com. That's SoundCloud.com, and right there in the search bar, just type The Worry-Free Retirement. Click search and boom, you're going to see our awesome bobblehead. Just click on that and you're going to find all of our past radio shows.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Yeah, Tony Walker here. So we're covering the split IRA concept. In the last segment, we talked about the Charles Schwab portion of that concept. And now we're at phase 2. This would be, if you will, our second bucket. And this would be an annuity. Now, not everybody is going to do both phases of this bucket, but we're going to imagine you are. So we had the $300,000 401k, and as a reminder, you could put your inheritance in this, a sale of a business, a 403b, a lump sum pension, maybe just a bunch of money languishing over the bank that you really don't need right away, and you want to try to grow that money. We could do that with this concept, but we're focusing in this example on someone that has a $300,000 401k. They're over the age of 59 and a half and still working. Yes, in most cases, they could go ahead and roll that out to us so we could get the game plan going and be ready for retirement or whenever you want to move it over. But we're imagining this person is still working. They roll the $300,000 over. We've put $100,000 with Charles Schwab and invested that money for growth, similar to their 401k. We did that for liquidity purposes. Now they say, well, I've heard about these annuities, Tony, so what could we do to protect my money, try to earn a decent return, but not have all this fluctuation? And that would be what we call a fixed indexed annuity, more specifically, one built for accumulation. Okay, I'll be talking about income in just a second and mailbox money, but this would be an annuity, fixed indexed annuity built for accumulation. So how would this work? Well, we could maybe take out a 5-year or 10-year annuity, and that just means whenever you hear 5-year or 10-year, that just means the length of time that you would hold on to the annuity and be able to take that annuity out in full without any penalty. So for instance, if we did a 5-year fixed indexed annuity with an accumulation product, you'd put in the $100,000, we'd take care of this for you. There's no upfront cost. There's no fees on this product either, I'm getting ready to share. So that's good. You save money on fees, no risk. How's it sounding so far, Aaron?
No risk. I like it. No cost, no risk. I'm loving all this.
Now remember, the only cost you'd have is if, let's say in the 3rd year, Aaron, you say, well, I want to cash this thing out. You're going to have some surrender penalties, but basically if you keep it to the term, in this example, this is a 5-year term, no risk, no foul. And in fact, in the state of Kentucky and Indiana, you can Google the Department of Insurance of both states. There's something called the Guarantee Fund, which covers up to $250,000 for these companies. A lot of people don't know that. So really just huge amount of protection. So if somebody is really worried about protecting their money, it's a great resource. And the reason we use accumulation products is because most of those do not come with fees. So if you don't want any fees, if you like the idea of trying to earn some decent returns without risk, so let's take the indexed annuity. Let's say it goes up by 3%. Here's what I like about it, Aaron. Let's say that year it goes up 3%. So let's say you have $100,000, you got $103,000. If the market crashes next year, you get to keep what you made. Sound good? Can't go down. If it goes back up the next year, you have the potential of still making money. So you always have these new floors. And by the way, incidentally, if you want to learn about these annuities, I know this is getting a little complicated, but here's what I would recommend you do. You go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on the download section and download Annuities Made Easy. I'm telling you folks, Annuities Made Easy has allowed a lot of people to see the real truth behind annuities, and it's something I wrote years ago, and I've been doing annuities for years, so I would highly recommend you get that booklet. Or if you don't have access to the internet and you want a hard copy, just call us at 877-499-9255 and request a free copy of Annuities Made Easy. Okay, so then we got this second leg. We've got this fixed indexed annuity. In this example, no risk, no fees. If it goes up, the new value is locked in forever, can never go back down. And in 5 years in this example, we could liquidate the entire amount and go and just put it in Schwab or whatever you want to do, no penalty. Now keep in mind too, there's a lot of misconceptions about what happens when I die. And with these types of annuities, so let's say Aaron in the 5th year it's worth $120,000 and the person passes away, the entire amount, $120,000, goes to their beneficiaries. There is no question about that. So folks, certain annuities do go away at death, but we'll talk about income annuities in a minute. But an accumulation product, 100% of it at death, there is no penalty. It's going to go to your heirs. So when people say, well, you lose it when you die, that's not always an accurate statement at all. Okay, so I'm kind of saving the best for last. I know a lot of people over the years have heard me talk about this trademark concept I use called mailbox money. By the way, Aaron, it was funny. Somebody came in the other day and they said, hey, well, you said that mailbox money concept was trademarked. And I said, yeah, it is. Why? And said, guess what? What do you think he said he heard on the radio?
He heard somebody saying mailbox money.
So you advisors now, come on now, let's be nice about this. You're not allowed to use that term. So we're going to talk about mailbox money. What is mailbox money? Why annuities are the only contractually guaranteed investment that can guarantee you'll never run out of money, and how we then sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes put income annuities within the split IRA concept. This is Tony Walker. When I come back, I'm going to talk about the third leg and the third bucket of the split IRA concept. I'll be right back.
With the stock market at all-time highs, our nation's debt through the roof, and inflation racing out of control, now may be the best time to consider safeguarding your money. That's why I'm offering to review your 401k and other retirement accounts to be sure that you aren't taking too much risk and you're not going to run out of money. To set up your free meeting with me, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. Tony Walker here. And before we get into the third leg of our ingenious split IRA concept and how it can help you perfect your walk in retirement. By the way, I guess I did Google today, Aaron. I couldn't help it. I Googled Perfecting Your Walk in Retirement, the book, and it was some random Christian bookstore, I think, that has it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's still out there. But
it's still out there, roaming around somewhere.
Forewarning, in case you're just joining us, what happened was years ago I wrote a book, my first book ever, called Perfecting Your Walk. I mean, it's a legit book. It's a published book. Nobody understood what the concept was. My feelings were hurt a great deal, but it still allowed me to meet Aaron at Wave 3 Listens. All is well, but I did change
and you
the
cried
galley.
A little more, but
I cried. Well, I think that's why you couldn't read the text. Started melting from the tears. But anyway, it changed to Worry-Free Retirement. So if you do accidentally order both books, I warned you, don't be upset with me and go, wait a minute, this is the same book, the same galley. So the Perfecting Your Walk bled into, or morphed into, better said, the Worry-Free Retirement, which that book is at major booksellers. Incidentally, speaking of major booksellers, I tell you a book that has been selling quite a bit that I wrote recently is Live Well, Die Broke. Folks, that's a really good book. As Shannon Ross in our office in Bowling would say, it is a humdinger. And what I would encourage you to do if you want to learn more about the philosophy of Tony Walker Financial and why we are so bent on helping savers use and enjoy this money before it's too late versus the financial world telling you to hold on to it and never enjoy it, You need to purchase a copy of Live Well, Die Broke. To find one, just go to any major bookseller. It's also at Amazon.com. I'd highly encourage you to read that book. And then after you read it, if you like the philosophy, I'd be happy to meet with you. Okay, time remaining. What is the third leg we use sometimes in the split IRA concept? Well, summarize real quick. The first leg is always through Charles Schwab. Gives us access, liquidity, low fees. You have 5 portfolios to choose from, all the way from ultra conservative to very aggressive. The next leg of that bucket is a fixed indexed annuity. More than likely, one that we would possibly do is called an accumulation product. Usually has no fees, no risk, very good product. And then third is a fixed indexed annuity, but attached to it is something called an income rider. Now, folks, whenever you're dealing with insurance companies, just know this. Again, annuities are issued by insurance companies. So whenever you hear the term rider, Aaron, keep this in mind, that always means there is an extra cost for it. So, Aaron, if all of a sudden you had a really nice ring for Jessica and you're worried about somebody stealing it and you want it covered under insurance, they're not going to cover it if it's real expensive. You'd have to go to the insurance company and say, I want this really pretty ring covered. And they'll say, yeah, we can put a rider on your policy, Mr. Orender, but it's going to cost you because that's extra. Yeah, it's an extra risk that they. Okay. So what the income rider does, I call it mailbox money. What that does is the insurance company is going to say, okay, and by the way, Aaron, I've got 3 or 4, I think 4 income rider products on myself. I do eat my own cooking, folks. Anyway, what that does is it says, okay, Mr. Walker, if you purchase an annuity, but you add this income rider and you're willing to pay an extra fee to the insurance companies, we don't get this fee, by the way, folks. We're paid on a commission on these products. That's another thing. Gosh, I keep digressing. I can't help it. If you're going to buy an annuity from someone, if they are not a fiduciary, be sure to ask what the commissions are, because a lot of these products are jacked up with commissions, and a lot of people are selling the highest commission product. Now, some of the products we sell do have some pretty high commissions, but we build those into the plans, and as a fiduciary, we'll tell you all the commissions that we make. We're happy to do that. We're not hiding anything. So that's the other thing, too. If an annuity peddler is not going to tell you the commissions, you probably better get a second opinion before you buy it. Okay, back to the income annuity, mailbox money. So what happens is, let's say I purchase an income annuity. What the insurance company is going to do is say, okay, Tony, what we'll do for the next 10 years, let's say, we're going to guarantee you on this money 6% guaranteed. Now, let's stop there, Aaron. I got your attention. You actually looked up real quick.
I did.
Where can you get 6%, let me use the word again, guaranteed?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. Not guaranteed.
Not guaranteed. There's probably plenty of them that tout it, but not guaranteed.
And this is where many of you get in trouble at these dinner seminars and talking to advisors, and you're not understanding the whole big picture. Folks, there is no way an insurance company can guarantee 6% like you would compare it to a yield on a CD. This is called an income rider. And yes, the pot of money that's set aside that's going to pay your lifetime income is guaranteed at 6%, but there's a catch. You cannot get that money out lump sum, ever. Nor can you leave that bucket of money to your kids, ever. That money, that 6% growth account that is guaranteed, is used simply for one reason, and that is to calculate the amount of money you want to draw one day. And it's a wonderful tool, don't get me wrong. Again, I've got, I think, 3 or 4 of these income annuities because, why, Aaron? I want mailbox money. I want it too. I don't want to run out of money. And this will guarantee that it won't happen. But folks, before you rush out and buy these annuities, and you're hearing 6, 7, 8% sometimes, make sure you understand that there is no annuity that can pay that now. What they're talking about is paying that on what's called the income rider, which is the portion that's going to pay your lifetime income, or what I refer to as mailbox money. So here's the moral to the story. If you are retired, retiring soon, maybe you're over the age of 59 and a half and you want to create a game plan for that 401k rather than just letting it sit out there for risking your money. You have an inheritance, sold a business, whatever it is. Let's talk about the split IRA concept to see if it's right for you. And to get started, all you want to do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started, or give us a call at 877-499-9255. That's 877-499-WALK. Well, we're out of time today, but I'll look forward to seeing you next week. But you remember, between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.